Good evening and welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Real Estate. You are watching Awaz Entertainment in Canada around the world. We pick up a topic today. It's not a doomsday in real estate. The reason is there is a lot of concern about real estate. Interest rate hike, stress test continuing, shortage of homes, regulatory changes are the few things that create buyer and seller on the edge to buy or sell a property. Based on the report that I shared with you on our last episode regarding a prediction from Canadian Real Estate Association, there was still an increase of housing prices. Based on the data which was shared with you about October, hopefully in a day or two or next episode, we have the data on November deal. Even though we know that transaction has reduced, number of transaction has reduced significantly across Canada, but the average price has increased in Ontario and other places, other provinces. We talk about Ontario because our license is in the province of Ontario, or we practice in real estate. So we're going to talk about few things. First of all, you have know that Real Estate Council of Ontario is a regulator who are mandated by the government of Ontario to introduce and implement education, registration, compliance, and consumer protection program. So government has introduced changes to REBA effective 1 April 2023. So changes are coming. REBA will become Trust in Real Estate Services Act of 2002. And there are lots of changes that are coming. So I am requesting real estate professional and also consumers to visit RECO, reco.on.ca, and learn about it. They have two sections, one for the buyers and sellers, consumer, and one is real estate professional for the real estate registrant. It's very, very important. They just moved to 14th floor, and this is very important for you to learn that. You also want to learn about the real estate industry news, and you also want to check that what's happening in the marketplace because of changes in the marketplace and the new regulations that are coming. They're improving the quality of education by introducing more compliance protocol and also education requirement. Good news is for that is the Real Estate Council of Ontario has reduced the fee because they have increased significant amount of surplus funds. So they are reducing the fees, which is a good news for, and because of mortgage, Real Estate Council of Ontario is taking very seriously on the mortgage fraud. So this is why it's very important to look into especially registrant. We have a responsibility to follow the code of ethics. Currently, REBA regulation 580/5, it has 53 chapters inside the regulation that teaches us how to behave in real estate and what to do, what are our obligation and fiduciary duty and cooperation, and making referral to other qualified professionals, doing due diligence, finding material facts about the buying and selling real estate. So when it comes to about concern, I'm sure based on what happening is still inflation is not to the point where it should be that bank will consider any reduction in the interest rate. So most likely on December 7, next week, you will see the Bank of Canada may increase the lending rate. Therefore, all the variable mortgage that you have will also be increased. Just for your clarity and disclosure, I'm a principal broker of Canada Express Mortgage Inc. license number 13421. It's 241. And this is very important for you to understand that you must be licensed to practice in real estate. And you must be licensed with the mortgage FISRA that regulate the mortgage industry in Ontario in order to practice or give advice on the mortgage. Again, you see that the HCRA, the Home Construction Regulatory Authority, has penalized some of the builders who have canceled the deals with the consumer. So it was in the newspaper. So governments are taking initiative to protect the consumer. So you are, as a consumer, are well protected, particularly in the province of Ontario, because your financing is regulated by FISRA. HCRA deals with the housing, buying a new house when you're buying from the builder, and RICO deals with the resale. Anything that a registrant is dealing with, whether it's a resale or buying from the builder. And if you're using a licensed registrant who's a member of who's been registered with RICO, and they fall into that. And as I mentioned, there is a consumer protection program where I believe they are changing the deposit protection from 100,000 to 200,000. We have yet to see the actual document has been done or not. So that means lots of people are paying more deposit toward the purchase to impress the seller that we are strong, to give us the deal. So therefore, your protection was up to 100,000 for deposit under REBA. Now it is being increased to 200,000. We have yet to see the regulation and changes that will be implemented. Once we know that, we'll share with you. So a couple of things comes in. Shortage of housing, we have this problem before the pandemic. During pandemic, it increased the volume shortage because housing construction was not moving the speed it has to produce the housing. We had 40 to 45 to 50,000 units across Canada we were shortage of. Now it's continuing. The biggest challenge we have is we have 400,000 immigrants coming in 2022, and obviously forecasted for 23 as well. So when you have a number of people, they are mostly staying in BC, BC and in Ontario, Toronto and Vancouver. These are the big hottest the market because most immigrant, because of economic reason and employment opportunity, they move to the big city. Therefore, you're expected to have more growth in population and demand is high. The focus is lifted now. A lot of youngsters who are working remotely, moving away from the big cities because they can function. I have a young client who has bought a house. She used to own a house condo in downtown Toronto, but now she is working remotely, so she bought a property in Guelph, close to her parents nearby. So this is why she was able to get almost same size unit at half the price what she had to pay in Toronto. This is why it's very, very important to think about that alternate solution. So shortage of housing will continue to be a problem. Problem is affordability. How much can you afford based on the stress test and increased rate? As you can see, if our sale transaction has declined almost 45% as compared to last year, so that means a significant reduction in sale and the value of the transaction that took place. therefore, what happened is that all those jobs, they are connected with the real estate transaction, were affected. And particularly, a lot of real estate professionals have challenges to manage their own expenses, paying for the mortgage, paying for the insurance, because transaction was done by those people who were successful, who were aggressive, they were prepared, they transformed their business. It's a reality now because the pandemic has taught us and they challenge us. And how many of you who face the challenges converted the challenge into opportunity to transform the way you do business? Conventional way of doing business that we have done in the past was thrown out of the window because of pandemic. We have to adopt and transform our business. So virtually Zoom and many other software that came in handy to help us to connect. And Realty Coffee Talk created a connectivity across the globe by educating friends, networking, and making partnership with people to raise connectivity and raise revenue to support your family. So it is not a doomsday in real estate. You're going to face a slight recession in 2023, but the property is still selling. Price is selling. If you look at the report and every Thursday a week on Realty Coffee Talk we have shared with you, you can see that average price of a house as compared to 2021 has increased. And I have shared with you the increase value, what we have happened, and we'll do it after when we have a break. We'll share with you again. And we're hoping that Trev will be issuing a market watch in a day or two, and then we'll share with you all the details about November, what happened in November. But we know that the interest rate is increasing on December 7, and the projection is that a 0.25% to 0.5%. Therefore, people are going to buy it before end of the year. So I expect that the next 2 weeks will be busiest week for real estate, and before we go to the holiday mode. So you have to think about it. If you have not planned or work with a person who's qualified to help you, to prepare you when you are making buying and selling decision, and you have not prepared your budget, you have no clue what to expect, and all of a sudden you lost a job, you have no understanding how it's going to impact you in terms of your credibility if you default on payment. You don't know where to get the funds and how can you equalize your equity funds to support you until you get back on your feet. Or you borrow money from your family and friend, which is unlikely under these circumstances because everyone is facing the challenges in terms of financing. Interest rates gone up. So variable mortgage right now is 5.95%. So that means it's going to continue. If you borrow money, you're going to pay for it. Idea again is when you borrow money, then you have to pay for and return that money. Until then you will be accruing interest on it. So doomsday is for those people who have ignored their financing. They have not paid attention to detail. They extended themselves too thin, and they bought the property they can't afford. They want to move to a bigger house, but they didn't predict that this interest will go up, and they took a variable mortgage. In real estate, it's always happen is that the buyer wants to buy the property. They put maximum money down. They don't keep any money for contingency, just like we all faced during the pandemic. So if you know the properties are selling higher than what they have bought in 2021, even though transactions are less, but it's still costing more money to buy it. shortage of supply going to continue to be a problem. Government of Ontario has a very good program. They introduced a new law, and which is going to help to facilitate more builders building more housing, and provided that motivation is there. You know, the moment the government introduced the interest rate hike, it hits the pulse of the people. The motivation to go out and buy the property start disappearing. And slowly it disappeared because affordability is a big issue. When you want to buy a property, there's two things. You want to buy it for your own, or you're buying it for investment to rent the property. When you're buying home only for yourself, you have a short span of time and you are going to face this challenge. So you're going to have to rent it anyway. So why don't you own it rather than renting it? So that will, and you can survive this cycle of short time increasing interest rate. Obviously, we don't expect too much price interest rate reduction in 2023. Most likely begin in reduction in interest rate in 2024. But right now, we have to look about how we can afford it, how we can survive through this time. And I'm sure you're very capable of managing your affairs and cut down all the travels, all the other expenses, expensive buying new cars and all those expenses that is very irrelevant in this situation, because you need to have a shelter for the family. So it's very important that you manage this. It's all financial management and time management. When to make a decision and when to spend the money at right time, right way, to make sure your all financial obligation are made. I was talking to an equity banker today who trying to do financing for a client. So what happened is that when you have a default, even during the pandemic, I remember mentioning all of you, when you are allowed to have a delay in finance or mortgage payment for 6 months, and lots of borrowers use that facility. I used for a couple of months too. But if you have stopped paying them until you have the approval or confirmation from the lender, it's going to show up on your credit report that you defaulted on payment. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to be in the record for at least 7 years. So this is very important. Whenever you buy anything, if you are buying it on a credit card or mortgage, understandable. I'm talking about even buying furnaces or kitchen appliances or laundry, washroom or dryer. You are borrowing the money because pay for 18 months. So it goes to the credit report. But the moment you stop paying or slipping one payment, it showed the default. And if they ask you to pay it and you don't pay it, or you delay it, or you argue with them, they're going to send it to your collection. And this is the dangerous part happen into many people in this industry. So this is why it's very important. Not only that you help or create a more revenue. That means if you are an employee or self-employed, you do extra work because you need more money to sustain your expenses that you have created. Because lots of people in 2021 pay overprice. Some of the appraised value came down, and they're carrying a big burden on their shoulder because value of the property has gone down. But you have mortgage to pay. You have a car insurance to pay. You have student loans to pay. You have household food, clothes, transit, car payment. So many things to do. So you need to create more revenue. This is very important. So income is very important. Second thing is you must report your income to CRA. So you get your notice of assessment that qualifies you. You are a legitimate income earner. you have a job, or you're a self-employed, you have a T4A, for example, real estate professional, all employee, including myself, we get T4As to file the tax return. We send it to one copy to CRA, and we create one for our each employee. And we file them, and then notice of assessment comes in when we file T1, and it shows as expense business or whatever. Then you have an asset. If you have an asset, you need to maintain them. If you don't have a condition of your property deteriorated, value will go down. So you need to spend money to maintain that, and you're going to get appraiser to give you an appraised value. Some of my clients had bought one property as a prime resident, they bought second property as a rented property. So you have to look at this when you are some bank will allow you to show the income property depending on the vendor, lender. Some are using 50%, some people using 100%. So you look at these important things to make sure all the payments, because you still have to pay the mortgage and taxes for that property or utility bills unless they are being divided between two tenants in the same housing. So you make sure, doesn't matter your tenant is there, you are paying those bills and collecting the money. So when you don't pay that, it shows on your credit report. And also declare income. If you are taking money, cash, or in writing from your tenant, please declare your income on your T1. This is very important because it increases your net income on your tax return. Then you have a credit bureau. This is very, very important for every one of you. We, as a principal broker, Can Express Mortgage Inc., 13241, we get consent from our client to seek a mortgage consent to get your credit bureau. And we have everything that you don't disclose to us. We have everything about you. And we get the report and we discuss with you. So if you have done anything that delay payment, it's going to show up. So make sure you pay your bill and keep updating your credit report. Check them every 3 months or so to see if there is anybody has misused. Sometimes there is a stolen identity. I was a victim of stolen industry when my son was going to medical school 10 years ago. And I have to fight with them because it was not me. Therefore, they corrected that. It took me almost a year to correct the record. Someone similar name with a different social number was using facility, and those credit bureau dumped my name with them. My middle name was different. They never checked that. They only look at the first name and last name. Middle name was different. So this is why it's very important to check your report. You are watching Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll continue our conversation. It's not a doomsday in real estate.
खूबसूरत और दिलकश जेवरात का बेमिसाल मरकज मक्का ज्वेलर्स, आपकी खुशियों में बराबर की शरीक, जहां आपको मिलेगी आपकी पसंद की कंगन, चोकर, सतलड़ा, झुमके, चंदनहार बेशुमार शौक वालों के लिए.
Good evening and welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment in Canada, around the world. It's not a doomsday in real estate. We're talking about how the real estate business is regulated in the province of Ontario. As I mentioned to you, Real Estate Council of Ontario is a regulator that deals with the real estate. So I highly recommend to consumers who are watching Realty Coffee Talk, go visit reco.on.ca and select buyers and seller. So there are very good topics. Buying a home, they will give you guidance how the regulators see that you should follow. Selling a home, working with a broker or salesperson, there are guidelines from the regulator. So before you begin to call anyone, you should visit reco.on.ca. How real estate agents get paid, you get an idea. We have done so many episodes on that. and news about real estate, because the regulator is there to protect consumers. They are working hard to regulate our real estate profession, so there is a more faith and confidence in real estate market. And this is why not only they educate consumer and protect their interests, they also regulate the education, registration, compliant consumer protection program. So there are plenty of resources. You go their website and you click there and you have an idea. Now, if you are a real estate professional, it also tells you if you want to become a real estate professional, you go to ricoon.ca and look for the real estate profession. What is the registration process, education, how much it costs, how long it takes to become a real estate professional, if somebody is considering to become and what are the fees, what is the education requirement, and insurance program for registrant, and form, and most importantly, that I love this, is registrar's bulletin. Our registrar is a very light person. He is so open-minded. You can write email at night. Sometime he will midnight respond your email. I have never seen such a competent, professional, and passionate regulator in my life. I have written emails. I got a reply at midnight, sometime on the weekends, because I'm trying to talk about some stuff. So ask the Joe. He's our registrar. So you get the answer. Especially also for the realtors. If you have a question that you don't understand, you can talk to your broker of record, but you can also write to the registrar. So what the registrar did, he created bulletins to provide clarity of the regulation, how is to be perceived or interpreted. So managing a delay offer presentation process. Remember when people are complaining there's an offer delay process? They provided a registrar bulletins. Managing preemptive offers. There was so much complaint about preemptive offers. The listing agent is not doing proper way, or consumer were complaining. And there was a bidding war going on. And then there is only one successful buyer who bought the house, and 16 or 20 didn't get it, and they got angry and upset. This happened in pandemic. So registrar came up with the bulletin. So go watch that. Short-term accommodation rental properties. There are regulations that requires you have to be licensed if you're dealing with these short-term rental properties. So there is a clarification there. Permitted advertising terms. What are the advertising terms? False advertising is prohibited. You are breaching the REBA regulation 580-5 if you false advertise. So there are guidelines. Read that one. Then also advertising checklist. They tell you what you can guide, what you can advertise. So there is a procedure that when you are a registrar working with a brokerage or your own brokerage, you talk to your broker of record. He's a complying officer to make sure whatever you are advertising is approved by them. Otherwise, if you misrepresent or falsify or give a perception which is wrong, then you can get in trouble. So first step is go to the broker of record and he approves your advertising. If the broker of record needs more clarity, he or she will write to the registrar and get an answer. And remember, we talk about referral fee. Referral fee is only permitted when you are dealing with your own client, buyer or seller. The buyer, if somebody needs some help and you give them money back, but it should be in the BRA, buyer representation agreement. It should be specified that this is money, and then you issue a T4A if you're paying to individual. And there's a procedure. If you are a seller, most seller, real estate agent normally give discount price to list the property. $999, $500, 0.5% or whatever the discount you give it to them. They already get the discount, but the seller never see that you are giving the discount because you are doing a complete listing. You are providing a full service. You are a regular full-time in real estate. This is your earning. This is how you make money and put food on the table and pay your mortgage or pay for your student loan for your kids. This is why it's very important to, when you are dealing with your client, you discuss that and put in a Schedule A, what discount you are giving and why you are giving, so it's understood. It has nothing to do with the value. Your law requires you to protect the interest of your client as a consumer. So you have a fiduciary to protect your client. Discount has nothing to do with the obligation you have under Ontario Regulation 580/5 REBA. That only talk about your role as a registrant, how competent, professional, honest, competent you are to deliver professionally a valued service to your client. Log boxes. People used to give log boxes to the seller. No. There is a guidelines. You cannot give a lockbox number to someone who's not licensed. It has to be in your own brokerage, employee of brokerage, because you are the one who is listed. Each agent is working for their own brokerage. And we all have adopted, virtually Broker Bay and other software that use the booking now and is very streamlined. Obviously, there are more boards that are also implementing this digital system to control unauthorized access to the lockbox number. So you can see that. Fair agreement of purchase and sale. There are guidelines for realtors how to deal with that. And this is why it's very, very important. And you have such a beautiful website of rico.on.ca, and you can search that title, Disclosure, Personal Interest, and Knowledge. If you have a knowledge of something is wrong with the property, or you have to disclose that. And this is the material facts, section 21 of the regulation. It talks about finding material facts. This is very important. Multiple representation when you are representing buyer and seller. New changes are coming to TRESA, Trust in Real Estate Services Act, which will eliminate the customer service. Either you are representing a buyer or seller, or you are not. So once those regulation changes comes in, we'll talk about them. Also, advertising reviews and complaints. People advertise, I am number one. They don't tell who is number one for what reason, what data they have shared to calculate about. Everybody is number one. So our commission reduction agreement. We have a multiple offer. Sometimes the listing agent will reduce the commission to represent an offer. So when there is a multiple offer, he or she has to disclose the commission to the cooperating broker so they can adjust the price. And commission rebates to clients and customer. So these are guidelines. If you are giving some how to do about it. And particularly is advertising sold property. I have always emphasized that you need to get a consent. Once a property is sold, you may have the permission to advertise the property. You need to look at the clarity during the period. But some people have sold property for years on the listing and it's sold again and again. They're still using the same, say, I sold the property 20 years ago. This is why it's very important to watch that. Other issue is the stigmatizing issues. Go RECO, reco.on.ca and watch. And also about commission. I think we did a seminar on that, brokerage commissions and fees. Those are, before there were restrictions, now you have a combination of fixed fees and also percentage of the sale. You can negotiate. As a consumer, you have every right to negotiate the level of service that you want and the broker to charge a fee which is reasonable to deliver a valuable service ethically, professionally, honestly, according to the obligation you have in the regulation. Therefore, you need money. You can't work for free. If you take away the motivation from someone who's serving you and delivering a service to you, then there is be a lack of interest or you know, initiative by the broker or agent. It takes away the motivation of the people. So you look at the value. I have experience where 1 or 2 times people have asked for it. You know, they wanted a $5,000 or $10,000 reduction. I told them, if I save you $100,000, would you take it? Oh, I want that too. I said, well, you can't have it, eat cake and eat it too. So we agreed that let me do it, and I saved them more than $100,000 on a property. So this is what it is important, that your focus is value that you deliver to your client. You are watching Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment in Canada, around the world. We broadcast our show on Awaz Entertainment every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for watching. I look forward to see you next Thursday on Awaz Entertainment in Canada, around the world. Bye for now.